You excited, Sydney? Oh, somebody's sleepy. Look at that. Oh my.
Good girl.
Hello. Hi there.
So you can see this is a king penguin. Her name is Babe.
Hi,
And
babe.
she is king penguin number 2. So that's how I can tell her apart from everybody else. That's what those little bracelets that she has on means, king penguin number 2. So every color has its own number, and every number just goes with a name. So we have to remember who's who. Every penguin within their own species looks exactly the same. So she looks exactly like all the other penguins we have out there. There's no way to tell her apart just by looking at her. She usually likes to lay down in an encounter, so she probably will do that as soon as she gets comfortable. But we can kind of tell her apart a little bit because she's actually one of our smallest king penguins. If she's not the smallest, then she's probably the second smallest king penguin that we have. So we can kind of tell her apart just from her size. But otherwise, we need those ID bands. So from those bands, we can also keep track of who's already had their vitamin today, who's good to use for encounters and stuff like that. We can remember who the pretty nice ones are. We'll weigh them once a month to see if they're eating properly. Also, we can keep track of who they're breeding with, so we can tell who their boyfriends and girlfriends are. Her boyfriend is Watson, king penguin number 30. These species do not mate for life, the ones that we have, but there are penguins that will. So there are other species that will keep the same mate their entire life.
So what species keep their mate their entire life?
I know the Adelie penguins will, and commonly the emperors will, although some of those guys will switch around as well. But we have noticed, like with all of these species, that usually they'll pick the same mates year after year. So once they find another penguin they like, then they'll usually stay with them for quite a while at least. But these guys are at least faithful throughout the breeding season. So as soon as they've picked a mate for 1 year, they're not going to switch until, you know, possibly the next breeding season comes around. But she's picked Watson this past several years, so they're pretty happy. What do you think? She's so pretty. Also, we can keep track of their ages through their ID bands. So she got her number, king penguin number 2, because she was the second king penguin that hatched out here at Moody Gardens. So she's one of the original ones that we collected from South Georgia, and she's now 13 years old. She actually turned 13 earlier this month. So everybody's birthdays are coming up now.
How long do they usually live?
King penguins can live into their 40s. Smaller species we have can live into their 30s. So they can live a real long time. The chinstraps are the oldest penguins we have. Their relative ages are 24 and 28. So they've been around for a little while. Like I said, they can live into their 30s. So we have some of those guys, they lose their tail feathers as they get older. So there are some chinstraps that don't really have any tail feathers anymore. And also we do have a few chinstraps who are partially or fully blind, because they do sometimes develop cataracts as they age as well. But they do just fine. They know where the food pans are. They already know the layout of the exhibit. They're always the first ones in when the food goes down. So they do just fine here. And then with her, you can see she's shaped like a little torpedo. She's demonstrating that pretty perfectly at the moment. And that's how, one of the ways these guys can swim so fast. These guys can actually go 8 miles per hour in the water. So they can swim twice as fast as our Olympic swimmers. These guys can also dive down to depths of about 1,000 feet to catch their fish. They don't usually need to, but they can if they need to. And then they can hold their breath for about 15 minutes as well. So they can stay underwater, big stretch, oh my goodness, for a really long time. Is that comfortable? And you don't see these